Warning: the Curious Native podcast contains mature topics and themes that are intended for an older youth and adult audience. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Curious Native podcast. I'm your host, hunnasmak at the end, and in today's episode, we will be talking about whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are individuals who speak out against illegal or unethical behavior within organizations, often at great personal cost. They are a critical part of our society, shining a light on injustice and holding those in power accountable. We'll explore the many challenges and risks that whistleblowers face, including retaliation, legal battles, and social ostracism. We'll examine the impact that whistleblowers have had on our society, from improving workplace safety to exposing full-on hate groups. So, if you're interested in that, please keep on listening. Well, for starters, what are whistleblowers? Whistleblowers are individuals who come forward to reveal information that is not publicly known, often at great personal risk. They're important because they play a crucial role in exposing government and corporate misconduct, corruption, and abuses of power. Whistleblowers may expose illegal or unethical behavior, waste or fraud, or other types of wrongdoings. By doing so, they can help to hold those in power accountable and promote transparency and accountability in government business. Although I do want to say, though, I am going to be talking about some few cases of whistleblowers and, but I am leaving a specific person off because I feel though they've kind of become the face of whistleblowing, and I understand why. They expose the government for spying on their citizens via the internet, but I do feel that, there are so many other people who had great contributions who blew the fucking whistle, and their lives and their stories don't get the same amount of attention as Edward Snowden. I was trying to avoid saying his name, but I had to. With that being said, I'm going to continue. Whistleblowers are often motivated by a sense of duty to the public or to their employer. They may witness wrongdoings firsthand, or they may become aware of it through other means, such as through document or conversations with colleagues. Whistleblowers may also be motivated by a desire to correct a problem or prevent harm to others. Whistleblowers may face, many risks and challenges when coming forward. They may face retaliation from their employer, such as being fired, demoted, or harassed. They may also face legal action, including lawsuits or criminal charges. In addition, whistleblowers may face social isolation or damage to their reputation. Despite these risks, whistleblowers continue to come forward to expose wrongdoings. They often do so because they believe that it is the right thing to do and that the public has a right to know about misconduct. Whistleblowers also play an important role in promoting transparency and accountability in government and businesses. Whistleblowers may report wrongdoings to their employer, to a government agency, or to the media. They may also report anonymously in order to protect their identity. In some cases, whistleblowers may also work with a lawyer or advocacy group to help them navigate the legal and practical challenges of coming forward. Whistleblowers may also be protected by laws and regulations that prohibit retaliation against whistleblowers. These laws vary by jurisdiction, but generally provide some form of protection for whistleblowers who come forward to report misconduct. Whistleblowing may whistle I'm sorry. Whistleblowing can have positive outcomes such as exposing wrongdoing and promoting accountability. However, it can also have negative consequences such as retaliation and damage to the whistleblower's reputation. As a result, whistleblowers must carefully consider the risk and benefits of coming forward and should seek legal advice and support if they decide to do so. In addition to individual whistleblowers, there are also organizations that work to promote whistleblowing and protect whistleblowers. These organizations may provide legal advice, advocacy, or other types of support to whistleblowers. They may also work to promote transparency and accountability in government and business. Well, now that you know what whistleblowers are, the next question is, why are they, so important? Whistleblowers are important because they play a crucial role in exposing government and corporate misconduct, corruption, and abuses of power. They are individuals who come forward to reveal information that is not publicly known, often at great personal risk. Whistleblowers may expose illegal or unethical behavior, waste, or fraud, or other types of wrongdoings. By doing so, they can help to hold those in power accountable and promote transparency and accountability in government and business. Whistleblowers also help to protect the public interest by bringing attention to issues that may otherwise go unnoticed or unaddressed. However, whistleblowers often face retaliation and persecution for their actions, including threats, harassment, and even legal action. Despite these risks, whistleblowers continue to play an important role in ensuring that those in power are held accountable and that the public interest is protected. Okay, well, now that you have context of what it is, specifically whistleblowers, let's, get into some famous cases of whistleblowers. And to begin, let's talk about Jeffrey Wigand. Jeffrey Wigand was born on December 17th, 1942, in New York City. He grew up in the Bronx and attended the Bronx High School of Science. After high school, he attended the University of Buffalo, where he earned a degree in biochemistry. He later earned a PhD in biochemistry from the University. Oh, wait. I apologize. I started rereading a line. Um, After completing his education, Wigand worked for several pharmaceutical companies before joining Brown and Williamson, one of the largest tobacco companies in the United States, in 1989, which leads us to the next part of the story. In the early 1990s, became increasingly concerned about the health risk of smoking and the tobacco industry's efforts to conceal this information from the public. He also became aware of the industry's efforts to manipulate nicotine levels in cigarettes to make them more addictive. In 1993, Wigand was fired from Brown and Williamson and forced to sign a confidentiality agreement that prohibited him from speaking out about his experiences. However, he became increasingly frustrated with the industry's lies and cover ups and decided to speak out to the media. Excuse me. Wigan, Wigan's decision to blow the whistle on the tobacco industry was a major turning point in the fight against smoking and the industry's attempt to conceal the health risk of tobacco use. His testimony before Congress and interviews with the media helped to expose the industry's lies and cover ups and led to a significant changes in public policy. Wigan's story was also the subject of a 1990 film called The Insider, which chronicled his experiences as a whistleblower and the intense pressure and threats that he faced from the tobacco industry. Overall, Jeffrey Wigand's decision to blow the whistle on the tobacco industry was a courageous and important act that helped to expose the truth about the health risk of smoking and the industry's efforts to conceal this information from the public. His testimony and interviews helped to bring about significant changes in public policy, and it has inspired countless others to speak out against injustice and corruption in the tobacco industry. This next particular story is it's a very interesting one, and it really highlights the dangers of being a whistleblower. So let's talk about Karen Silkwood. Karen Silkwood was born in Longview, Texas in 1946. She was the daughter of a pipe fitter and homemaker, and she grew up in a working class family. After graduating from high school, Silkwood moved to Oklahoma City and began working at the Kerr-McGee Cimarron fuel fabrication site. I'm not quite sure how to say that Cimarron. I'm not quite sure. It's a nuclear fuel plant. It's just basis. Silkwood became an active she became active in the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union and began to notice safety and health violations at the plant. She and other members filed grievances to address these issues, but management did not take action. Silkwood then became involved in a campaign to unionize the plant, which was met with resistance from the management. In 1974, Silkwood became contaminated with plutonium at the plant, which raised concerns about the safety of the facility. She was tested for radiation exposure and found to have a significant amount of plutonium in her body. Silkwood then began to collect evidence of safety violations and radiation leaks at the plant, which she planned to present to the Atomic Energy Commission. On November 13th, 1974, Silkwood was driving to a meeting with a New York Times reporter and official Atomic Energy Commission when she died in the car accident. The evidence she collected was missing from her car, and there was suspicion that the accident was not an accident at all. I'm gonna get into that in a minute too. Just the circumstances surrounding Silkwood's death remains controversial, and there are many theories about what happened. Some believe that she was murdered by Kerr McGee in order to prevent her from exposing the safety violations at his plant or at the plant. I apologize. Others believe that she was killed by the government or by anti-nuclear activists. Despite the mystery surrounding her death, Silkwood's story has had a lasting impact on the fight for workplace safety and the protection of whistleblowers. Her case led to the creation of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's Office of the Inspector General, which investigates allegations of wrongdoings at nuclear facilities. It also inspired the 1983 movie Silkwood, which starred Meryl Streep. I haven't watched it. I wonder how it is. Maybe I'll give it a watch. And help to raise awareness about the dangers of nuclear power. I did say we'll talk about her death and in a moment. So let's just get into it now. The death of Karen Silkwood. There's a train going by in the background. If you can hear it, I apologize. Is a controversial and complex case that has generated many theories and debates. Some believe that she was assassinated by Kerr McGee, the company she worked for, in order to prevent her from exposing the safety violations and radiation leaks at the nuclear fuel plant where she worked. Others believe that she was killed by the government or by anti-nuclear activists. Silkwood, she was a whistleblower who had collected evidence of safety violations and radiation leaks at the Kerr McGee fuel fabrication site in Oklahoma. She had planned to present this evidence to the Atomic Energy Commission, and her death occurred just a few days before the meeting was scheduled to take place. Silkwood's car was found to have skidded off the road and crashed into a culvert, killing her. The evidence that she had collected was missing from her car, and there were signs that the car had been tampered with. Some believe that she was run off the road by another vehicle, while others believe that her car was sabotaged. The investigation into Silkwood's death was complicated by the fact that her body was contaminated with plutonium, which made it difficult to perform an autopsy. The state of Oklahoma conducted an investigation and concluded that Silkwood had fallen asleep at the wheel of the car, and it was an accident that was caused by her own negligence. However, this conclusion was disputed by many, including Silkwood's family and friends. In 1979, Silkwood's family filed a lawsuit against Kerr McGee, alleging that the company had caused her death by exposing her to plutonium and by sabotaging her car. The case went to trial, and the jury awarded the family $10.5 million in damages. However, this verdict was later overturned on appeal. Despite the lack of definitive conclusion about Silkwood's death, her legacy as a whistleblower and advocate for workplace safety had a lasting impact. Her case led to the creation of the Nuclear Regulation Commission's Office of the Inspectors General, like I mentioned, and that was significant as it investigated misconduct in the nuclear power industry. So that's something. In recent years, new evidence has emerged that suggests that Silkwood's death may have been the result of foul play. In 2014, a former FBI agent claimed that Silkwood. Oh, I apologize. I read ahead of it. In 2014, a former FBI agent claimed that he had evidence that Silkwood's car had been tampered with and that her death was the result of a deliberate act. However, this claim has not been definitively proven, and the case remains one of the most controversial and debated in American history, despite the lack of a definitive conclusion. I apologize. Silkwood's death has had a lasting impact on the workplace safety and the regulations of nuclear power. Her legacy continues to inspire those who seek to expose the wrongdoings and hold powerful corporations accountable. This last case we'll be talking about is one that makes me nervous, not because I'm scared of retaliation. Like, baby, I'm an inner city native. I throw blows. I don't play these games. No, the reason why is because the idea of going undercover in a hate group just it makes me feel so ick, which is exactly what this case is about. Stetson Kennedy was an American writer and activist who was best known for his work exposing the activities of the Ku Klux Klan, aka the KKK. In the 1940s, Kennedy was born in Jacksonville, Florida in 1916 and grew up in a family of writers and activists. His mother was a suffragist and his father was a journalist, and Kennedy was raised with a strong sense of social justice and commitment for fighting for equality and human rights. As a young man, Kennedy became interested in the KKK and its activities in the South. He was appalled by the organization's racism and violence and hatred and was determined to do something about it. Excuse me. In the early 1940s, Kennedy decided to infiltrate the KKK and to document its activities from the inside. Kennedy joined the KKK under a false name and began attending meetings and rallies. He quickly learned that the organization was much more than a social club for white men, that the KKK was a violent and racist organization that was committed to terrorizing and intimidating African Americans and other minority groups. Kennedy witnessed the KKK members burning crosses, beating and lynching African Americans, and engaging in other acts of violence and hate. Kennedy was determined to expose the KKK's activities to the public, and he began collecting information and documents that he could use to do so. He also worked with other activists and organizations to gather information about the KKK and to build a case against the organization. In 1946, Kennedy published a book called The Klan Unmasked, which exposed the KKK's activities and revealed its secrets to the public. The book was a sensation and it helped to expose the KKK's violent activities to the public. It also played a role in the decline of the KKK in the mid 20th century. Like, big round of applause, dude. That's great. After the publication of The Klan Unmasked, Kennedy continued to work as a writer and activist. He wrote several other books, including Southern Exposure, which exposed the racism and inequality of the South, and The Jim Crow Guide, which exposed the segregation and discrimination that African Americans faced in the South. Kennedy was also involved in several other civil rights and social justice causes over the years. I apologize for I keep clearing my throat, and I'm sure it's irritating for y'all. It's irritating for me. I'll cut as many out as I can, but it is something. He worked with labor unions and environmental organizations and other groups to fight for equality and justice for all. Kennedy died in 2011 at the age of 94. He is remembered as an activist and a courageous and dedicated, ally who worked tirelessly to expose the injustices of the South and to fight for equality and human rights. His work as a whistleblower and activist who helped to expose the KKK's activities and to promote racial justice and equality in the United States. Kennedy's legacy continues to inspire activists and advocates around the world to fight for justice, equality, and human rights. Well, now that you know what whistleblowers are, why they're important, and some famous cases of whistleblowers, let's talk about why whistleblowers don't come forward more often and why it's important we listen when they do. Despite the many challenges and risks associated with whistleblowing, it is important to remember that whistleblowers play a critical role in ensuring transparency, accountability, and ethical behavior in organizations by speaking out against wrongdoing. Whistleblowers can prevent harm to individuals, communities, and the environment. They can also help to promote a culture of integrity and respect within organizations. While it's important to recognize the challenges that whistleblowers face, we should also work to encourage and support whistleblowers whenever possible. This can include providing legal protections and offering emotional and financial support and creating safe and confidential reporting mechanisms. By doing so, we can help to create a more just and equitable society where individuals are empowered to speak out against injustice and wrongdoing. In conclusion, whistleblowers are important because they help to promote accountability, transparency, and ethical behavior in organizations and government. While whistleblowers face many challenges and risks, it is important to support and encourage them whenever possible. By doing so, we can create a more just and equitable society where individuals are empowered to speak out against injustice. With that being said, if you like today's episode and would like more like this, Please go ahead and subscribe, like, share, and comment to let me know you're enjoying all the hard work and research that goes into these episodes. And if you like me and what I have to say, please feel free to follow my main Twitter page at huskasmin and please follow the podcast official Twitter page at TCNpod. And go ahead and follow me on Blue Sky if you're over there. I recently joined. It's a lot of fun. So go ahead and follow me. It's the same thing. I'll link it down below as well. Everything will be linked, including all my sources that I used. And with that being said, I'm hunnasmak, and this has been the Curious Native Podcast.